All right, everybody, we are live for our first official live stream of the 2023 NFL season. Very exciting stuff. Joined with me is Dan the Man Koob from Sport Trade, joining me every Thursday at this time. Dan, how are you?
I'm great, Matt. This is exciting. It's finally here. NFL football is 3 hours and 20 minutes away. I said it yesterday. We're doing a home and home. I said it on the Sport Trades feed yesterday. This is like Christmas morning for me. I love it. I can't wait to get kicked off. I've got a couple bets in the hopper we're going to talk about. And this is one of the best days of the year.
I love it. Kingman already commenting. Appreciate you, Kingman 2000. Do you think there's like 1,999 Kingmans, or do you think he was born in 2000? I think we should spend the entire live stream diving in to the name.
I just imagine he was trying to create a Yahoo account and he tried Kingman 1 and it was like, oh, sorry, that user's already.
And then he tried like 1,000.
Damn it. 2, 3, 4. And then he finally settled on 2000 because he must be an Andre 3000 fan or something.
There you go. That's probably it.
Yeah.
I mentioned it. Dan will be joining me every Thursday at this time. You can go ahead and mark and set your calendars for Thursday, 5 p.m. Obviously, for tonight, we don't have any recaps to do. We just have Thursday night football. So what we're going to be doing today, any last minute Thursday night football plays that we want to get off our chest. The bulk and the meat of the show, if you will be official season predictions. So what we'll be giving out: Super Bowl winner and runner-up, MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, and Defensive Rookie of the Year, ending that with teams that we are fading. We'll rapid fire division winners, not spending a ton of time on that, and then we'll end with week one bets we want to get off our chest. Before we get into that, Dan, you are joining us from Sport Trade. Why don't you introduce yourself and introduce Sport Trade for the people that might not know?
Sure. Well, thanks, Matt, for that. I am the Pander King. We just launched in Colorado, so please explore Colorado. We're live in Colorado and New Jersey. Obviously, we partner with Matt because Matt's followers appreciate line shopping. They understand value, EV betting, and that's what we have to offer at Sport Trade. We have the tightest lines, deep liquidity. We actually just took, we're going to get into this particular bet that I like tonight. Lines plus 4.5. We just took a $4,000 bet. We still have $5,000 of liquidity available at that price. So that's pretty massive for a nascent exchange. We launched a year ago, almost today, actually, in the state of New Jersey. Just launched in Colorado a week ago Tuesday. So if you're in both states, come check us out. If you do sign up, make sure you sign up with promo code MODI. That way you get 3% cash back on your total first week's handle up to $200. So that's a little bit of a decent amount of handle betting, but we love arbitrage betting on the exchange. We obviously love matched betting as well. We actually just posted a video today, Matt, of a guy who has barely bet his entire life. We found him. He made $2,000 just matched betting sign-up bonuses and promos. So now the NFL season's back. A ton of new enhanced promos are coming out. You're going to want to convert that into actual cash. You can do that at Sport Trade.
Yeah, that's cool. I think $2,000. I mean, for some people, that's enough to get them through the entire football season, even if they lose every single bet.
Do you know what he did with it? He actually used it to help his down payment for Eagles season tickets. So
wow.
shout out to him, right?
So there you go. You can pay for Eagles season tickets from match betting with Sport Trade. Yeah, if you follow me on Twitter, I love Sport Trade. They always have the best prices. A lot of people I think that follow me are probably very price sensitive, and I'm not just saying that because we partner together. I provide examples. Like the entire OddsJam positive EV page is just the best pricing from Sport Trade, which is crazy. Definitely recommend checking that out, and would help me out a ton if you use promo code MODI. Before we get into some takes, I have some nonsense that I want to get into first. I always enjoy the nonsense portion of the show the most. Dan, are you a coffee drinker?
I'm a coffee monster.
A coffee monster.
I have a 15-month-old child. So I am an absolute coffee monster.
Okay, so are you a how many cups of coffee a day do you drink on average?
Ooh,
this is assuming you didn't have like a terrible night with the newborn. Average night.
That's tough only because I think my average cup of coffee is more than an average cup of coffee. So I'm going to say, assuming a cup and a half per serving for me, I'm going to say at least 3 cups of coffee a day.
Okay. Wow. So 2 actual cups that are a cup size of a cup and a half.
I mean, sometimes I'll mix in a Starbucks run. You got to treat yourself.
Okay, I got
a chocolate lab. You got to take the lab to get in there for a pup cup sometimes, and you treat yourself too.
Of course. I got one. If you can see here in the back, taking a nap in my office.
Love it. Love it.
Okay, that was actually my next question. Are you a Starbucks guy?
Sure. I'm anybody who has coffee guy.
Yeah. Okay. Well, because I feel like some people
has it. I'm in. Like I will go to your place if you have coffee.
So are you like a foo drink Starbucks guy, like the vanilla cream cold brews, the pumpkin cream cold brews, or are you like a coffee purist in that you don't like to mess up a good thing with any of that extra sugar?
So I will tell you that my standard order is just an Americano, which is just water and coffee. I do put in a little bit of almond milk because I don't eat dairy.
Okay.
But I will say in the fall, I'm a huge PSL fan. A lot of people people think that's basic. I think people who think PSLs are basic are just happy to devoid themselves of fun. Now they put way too many pumps in there. 5 pumps. I don't know if you know this. Maybe
nobody in this household gets 5 pumps. I can tell you that
5 pumps is what they put in a standard order.
That's crazy. I didn't know that.
I know this because I've asked several different baristas and they've told me. So I only get 1 pump because otherwise I can't drink it. It's too much sugar. I'm not a huge sugar sweets guy. But I do love a good PSL.
I'm more of a cold brew kind of guy, so I get the pumpkin cream cold brew. My friend group has very much gotten into the pumpkin cream cold brews. We have a group chat that's called the PCCB Pals. So that's why I was curious because Thursday they do BOGO off of fall drinks. So I got one for today that I'm sipping on, and then I got one for tomorrow morning in the holster. So that's why I was curious. Made me think. All right.
Well, how many cups do you drink a day?
Normally just 1. I actually didn't start drinking coffee until I was in my late 20s. I was never really a coffee guy. But my now fiance is obsessed with coffee, and I don't think we would have lasted more than a month if I didn't enjoy drinking coffee. So I kind of just got into it. And then she got me addicted to it. So now if I don't have a cup of coffee, I get a headache. And then she stopped drinking coffee. It was a bait and switch.
It sure was. And I'll tell you, it doesn't get any better. So I actually didn't start drinking coffee until I was in my late teens. I worked an overnight shift at a radio station that you've probably heard of, KYW News Radio, 1060. Yep. Mm-hmm. I worked the overnight shift there in college. So I started drinking coffee in order to stay awake.
You've got to live off coffee. Then you had a newborn and it was basically probably the same thing.
It's a very similar schedule.
Yeah. All right. Enough of that. Last minute Thursday night wagers. Dan, I know you just mentioned that you have, I think it was Lions plus 4.5. What do you got going on for us tonight?
So we've been seeing some good CLV right now, of course, because of the news with Travis Kelce. So specific to Sports Trade, I did like earlier in the week, Lions plus 223 on the money line. That was a 1.7% market edge compared to everybody else at the time. That was before the news about Travis Kelce. So now it's at plus 199. So if you know anything about Sports Trade, we use a 0 to 100 probability scale. If you want to, you don't have to. We also have American odds, obviously, as you take a sip of your coffee. So in those terms, all that is a percentage chance of winning. So plus 223 is just a 30.5% chance of winning. We also use something called shares. That's 30.5% per share, which moved to 33. So if you're looking at that from a pure money perspective of CLV, it's $2.50 per share of CLV. Now, I'm not going to cash that out. I'm going to let that go. Yeah. That's available if you wanted to. But this number has really jumped around a lot in the last 24 hours or so, obviously. It got down to plus 174 around 1 p.m. yesterday. It's now at plus 199. So, as always, information is king, Matt. I got it at plus 223, so I'm not getting rid of it. Do I think the Lions can win? Probably not. But if you know anything about Sports Trade, you can move in and out for 95 to 97% of the bet's equity in real time. So I'm kind of hoping to have the Lions take a lead at some point and then kind of trade out of that.
That bad boy out.
Another one that I do like, and I just mentioned it, was Lions plus 4.5. It's at minus 104 right now. I mentioned just took a $4,000 bet on that internally. There's still $5,000 of liquidity there. I did not place a $4,000 bet on it. I will tell you that right now. To me, this is obvious. Travis Kelce is probably not going to play tonight. The Chiefs called up a third tight end from their practice squad onto the active roster, which is a signal to me that 90 minutes before kickoff, we're going to find out Travis Kelce isn't playing. Personally, if I'm on the coaching staff, this is a see the forest through the trees scenario for Travis Kelce. It's the first week of the season. He has a hyperextended knee. If you know anything about that, that's a bone bruise. If you ever had a bone bruise on your knee, it's unbelievably painful. And there's no reason to rush him back for a game and then have 10 more days off where he could exacerbate the situation. Why not just give him 10 more days off? So I don't think Travis Kelce is going to play tonight. and we talked about this yesterday, Matt. Who is Travis? Who is Patrick Mahomes throwing to? It's Kadarius Toney, MBS, Sky Moore, Richie James, Rashee Rice,
Justin Watson, Noah Gray,
cool.
The running backs, Jerick McKinnon. No, yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm proving your point by naming a bunch of random jabrones. Yeah, I mean,
I think 4.5 is live. I think that's a decent enough play. Chris Jones also not playing in this football game. So I think defensively, Jared Goff's going to have time to throw. The Lions' offensive line is good. Their pass catchers are so-so. The running backs, I think, are also very good. So I think they're going to be able to score points to an extent. But I do like them at plus 4.5.
Yeah, so I am a stubborn person. I just can't quite get there with the Lions. I think I also am of the nature of like, if everybody's on something, I immediately just want to zag just to be different. But
is everybody on the Lions?
Well, not necessarily for this game specifically. I just mean like they're on the Lions this season. Like they have the 4th best odds to come out of the NFC. The Lions do. The Detroit Lions. And like, I forget exactly what year I read this, but there's really no evidence that ending one year with like a hot streak will continue into the next season. And we kind of saw that a little bit with this exact Lions team 2 years ago. I looked this up before we started. In 2021, Dan Campbell's first year, they started 0-9-1 with some gut-wrenching losses in there that I'm sure we can remember, the Justin Tucker 64-yard field goal. And then they ended the season 3-3, or they started 0-10-1, excuse me, and ended the season 3-3. So everybody was like, oh, we're all on the Lions. And then the same thing happened last year. They started slow. So the Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes at quarterback is just cartoonish. Their numbers they put up, especially in week 1. Now, the Kelsey news definitely hurts that because it's not as though they could have went into the game plan knowing that he won't be there. Like he just got hurt on Tuesday. But in week 1, the Chiefs have scored 38, 40, 34, 33, 34 points. Or excuse me, 44. The last number is 44. And I just trust Patrick Mahomes. So I actually am on the Chiefs. I think that the numbers dipped a little bit too far. I can't tell you who I think he's going to be throwing it to. I can just tell you that I trust Mahomes and Andy Reid to figure it out. Like I didn't know what they were going to do last year without Tyreek Hill, and they won the Super Bowl. Obviously that was with Travis Kelce, but I just think that they're going to be able to figure it out. And I can't get there with the Lions. So that's what I think.
I think it's a dumb move to bet against Patrick Mahomes outright personally, but then you're really going to hate this one. The KC Detroit under 51.5. This was at plus 113 for a reason, and it's now plus 120. So the market is moving away from me there.
Disgusting.
Right now we've got 53.5 at minus 111. The under 52.5 is at plus 104. We partner with many odds comparison sites. Unabated is one of them. If you're an EV bettor, this is the bet for you. Okay. The under 50.5 at plus 141 is a 3.5% market edge. Now, am I interested in 50.5? Probably not. Let's be honest. Like, I'm just not, because like a 27-24 game doesn't cash. And I think that's very much within the what everybody loves saying this offseason, the range of outcomes. 27-24, definitely in a range of outcome there. But I will remind your viewers, trends, in my opinion, really don't matter all that much. I think every game is specific. I think we should be looking at form as opposed to anything else, and opponent, not so much historical trend data, which I know is super popular during the NFL. Having said that, complete mixed bag on the Thursday night opener in terms of overs and unders. Some games are absolute shootouts, which we saw last year, a ton of points between the Bills and the Rams. Some games are absolute dogs, which we saw, I think Packers and Bears like 3 years ago, if memory serves, was like a 10-7 game or something like that. So total mixed bag. Just don't rely on trends when betting these sort of things.
Yeah, I think that's fair. As I'm going to give you some trends numbers. So I told you what the Chiefs scored in week 1 in the Patrick Mahomes era. And then the Lions, after bashing them, scored 33 and 35 points in week 1. I think that the time to fade Jared Goff is when it gets cold out with his big baby back bitch hands, small hands.
Oh, wow.
I say that as someone, I have tiny hands, but I'm not a quarterback.
What's your hand size? Like Kenny Pickett size?
My fiance has the same size hands as me. And
that's tiny.
Yeah, and she is an average sized hand female.
Now
So
you've got me thinking.
it's not some Brittany Griner type thing. No, I have tiny hands. But regardless, I'm not a quarterback, so it's okay. I just think they're going to be. I actually am more confident on the over than I am on the Chiefs covering. But if I was actually giving out my official bets that I have made myself since the Travis Kelce news, I honestly think both the total and the spread is a no touch, which I'm never good, which is lame, and I hate doing that. But I'm on my picks I gave out. I didn't have anything on the spread and on the total. I just had props because I just have a hard time really getting an understanding of what's going to happen, especially with the Kelce news. So I will say, as soon as he was declared out, I hopped on Lions plus 6.5 because I forget which book. One book hadn't updated their lines yet, so I immediately hopped on that. And then I was on the over prior to the Kelce news, and I'm not going to sell out of that at a loss. So I'm just going to take my chances. So with that said, do you have any props that you have tonight, or are you just looking at the Lions and the under?
Yeah, I don't. Did you say you're concerned about Goff when it gets cold?
Yeah, he's got tiny hands.
It's going to be 78 degrees.
No, I'm saying now is not the time to be concerned with Goff. That was my point.
Okay.
The time to be concerned is when it's cold.
I was very confused.
No, I was saying that not for tonight, for later in the season.
As you were going about your tiny hand syndrome, we just took a $6,000 bet on the Chiefs. So there you go.
Wow, $6,000, man,
yeah.
that's good stuff. So so I guess this is more just my interest. Mm-hmm. Do you ever have situations where someone will put down an amount of money and it doesn't get matched? Like for $5,000, so you just have that liquidity just because of the users, and I think you have.
It depends on the market, of course, right? So if we have $5,000 available of liquidity, yes, it gets matched right away. If we don't, what will happen is however much liquidity is available at that price point, you will get immediately. And then we'll say, hey, you have, we'll just say round numbers. Let's say there's $4,000 of liquidity available at like minus 104, right? Which is a 50.5% chance of happening. So for $50.50 per share, you could fill $4,000 of that. Once that runs out, we'll say, hey, we'll give you the other 1,000, but we'll move the price to 51, right? Or minus 108 or something like that, or minus 106 or whatever that is. And then it's up to you whether or not you want to take that or not. And then once you do, we'll give you an average cost at that. So it would be like I don't know. It would be like minus 104.
Yeah.
But,
that makes sense.
Symbols involved. So that's how it works.
Okay. No, that makes sense.
And all of our liquidity and all of our markets are available online. Markets.getsporttrade.com. Yeah. And I will say this, even if you're not in Colorado, New Jersey, I think it's worth downloading just to compare pricing, because it's interesting to see because Sporttrade charges the least amount of juice. So you can always get super tight lines. So it's just a nice price comparison point. I have 2 taters for tonight that I gave out via Tater Time, both for over plus 200 odds. They've shifted, so I forget what they are exactly as of right now. But Jahmyr Gibbs and Sky Moore are my 2 Tater Time, Tater Watch players for tonight. Do you have any thoughts on either of those? I know Jahmyr Gibbs is pretty chalky. Sorry to interrupt you. No, it's okay. My only thought on that is NFL Network had their expert on today, and he was like, Jahmyr Gibbs.
I saw this.
Start him. And I was like, oh, I'll write that down. Are you kidding me? Yeah, we're like one of the dumbest things I've ever seen. $4,000 just came in on the Jags against the Colts. So $4,000 bet on the Jags. There you go.
Nice.
We're actually going to be doing a show on Sunday, which you're going to be on. Sundays, I should say, not this Sunday.
I was going to say.
We're going to be watching the fourth quarter of games and tracking all the bets that come in. So there you go.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw like the Lions GM came out and said, like, we're going to use Jahmyr Gibbs in ways that are going to surprise people. Like, are you going to have him punt? Like, how could you possibly use a running back that hasn't been used before? He's either going to run it, or he's going to catch it, or he's in the off chance he's going to throw once a game. Like, you're not going to line him up at center. I don't know. How creative can you be?
Can I suggest something?
Please.
Vendor. It's going to be slinging Bud Lights in the stands.
I mean, he could probably get some good business if Jahmyr Gibbs, if a player was slinging beers in the stadium. So, all right. Gibbs and Sky Moore, Tater Time. We did get one question, which I'm curious if you have a thought just right off the cuff without having time to research. What does Kelce's absence make you think about Mahomes' 286 over under passing yards?
I think he still goes over because the thing is Detroit's defense sucks. And yeah, I mean, they brought in CJ Gardner-Johnson, who immediately got injured. They drafted a linebacker in the first round.
Whose name is Jack Campbell. That's the most 1950s Iowa linebacker that I've ever heard.
It sure is. Who knows what's going to happen there? They drafted Brian Branch, the safety out of Alabama, but he's a rookie, his first game ever. I would have to think, and Andy Reid's the best coach, 1B to Belichick's 1A. Like in terms of offensive, he's 1A. Belichick's 1A for defense. So they will scheme something up that's going to get guys open. They're going to score points. I know I talked about the under earlier, but like, let's be real. Like Isaiah Pacheco is going to catch balls out of the backfield. Nobody draws up screens better than Andy Reid. So 286 to me, he's going to get there. I don't know what the price is, but I feel like that's almost a certainty.
I agree with you. In like a opening night primetime game, Andy Reid just loves to throw too much. There's no way that he's going to not throw the ball a million times. Yeah. So I'm with you. I still think that's going to be an over. I would have guessed you can probably get a pretty good price on that now that Kelsey's been ruled out. I don't have the odds, anything in front of me. But all right, last minute Thursday night bets. Let's say you're on the under and you're on the Lions.
Well, I'm on the Lions plus 4.5. If you're an EV bettor and you love big market edges, big fat juicy market edges.
Yep.
You can look at the under
15.5.
Yeah, 15.5 at plus 141.
Yeah. All right. All right.
So see how the first couple drives go and then see what you want to do.
Yeah, you can cash that out for profit if they start slow. All right. So now we'll get to our season predictions. I figured it would make sense to start with the least juicy, go to the most juicy. So I say we start with defensive rookie of the year. Sure. And as our guest, I will let you go first. And I'm guessing we might have the same one.
Yeah, I think we do. I don't put a ton of stock into preseason chicanery. But when you've got veterans coming out and saying this guy is like unbelievable and should be contributing immediately, and you've seen the footage of him dominating other guards in joint practices, which is the real preseason. Like joint practices are the real preseason, not the games. And even still, in his first snap, Jalen Carter completely dominated Joel Bettino or whatever, starting guard for the Browns. So Jalen Carter is plus 700. I think for many reasons, not only the talent, but also the visibility. The Eagles are going to be playing in a ton of primetime games this year. He's going to be in the rotation. Fletcher Cox is, I think, old as me. He's not going to be playing as much. All right, Javon Hargrave is now gone. You're going to be seeing the UGA show up the middle for the Birds. And the biggest part of that is Jalen Carter's ability to rush the passer, which Jordan Davis does not have. So he's going to be able to make splashy, headliney plays all the time. And presumably the Eagles will be ahead, allowing him to rush the passer a little more. So I think the stats will be a little bit inflated from that perspective. I like Jalen Carter.
I agree with you. I'm not surprised by that. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you read this. The Athletic, Bo Wolf had an article about like asking as many Eagles players as he could, who do you think is going to have a breakout season? And there were a lot of players who were like, well, I don't want to give it to a rookie, and then gave it to someone else. And then they were like, but really it's Jalen Carter. Like, I think even the Eagles themselves cannot hide how excited they are about how good this guy is. And
he has to keep his head on straight.
Which to me, I feel like the way you play it with Jalen Carter is you get him for the 5 years. You let him get a paycheck somewhere else. If you're that worried about his character, you let him get paid somewhere else. It's kind of how I feel. But I mean, I think his first year, you're right. He's going to get a ton of pass rushing snaps. It's high profile. Like the only player that has better odds than him to win defensive rookie of the year is Will Anderson. And we might not hear Will Anderson's name once this year, and he could have 10 sacks because no one's going to care about what's going on in Houston.
It's true.
So yeah, I'm with you. Not a lot of argument here. So we'll go with defensive player of the year. I'll go first. I have Myles Garrett out on this one. He has the third or fourth best odds. I forget exactly what they were. Past 2 seasons, he's had 16 sacks as pretty much the only real threat on the edge for the Browns. But now they have Jim Schwartz in town, which as Eagles fans, we know that the only thing he asked his defensive ends to do, pin their ears back and attack the quarterback. They also added Sandarius Smith, who had a good year with the Vikings last year, who's been good previously with the Packers. So at least they have someone else who can possibly be a threat rushing the quarterback. And part of this is bias, but I just can't get the reports out of my head where he just crushed the Eagles in joint practices. Like the Eagles offense couldn't do anything and he was just making mincemeat of Jordan Mailata, who's a legitimately good left tackle. So I wanted to be a little bit different, not just go with Nick Bosa, Chris Jones, or Aaron Donald. So I think Myles Garrett is going to win it for the first time. Who do you got?
Yeah, I think your instincts are right. 10 of the last 12 defensive player of the years have been either linemen or pass rushing linebackers, right? So you're right there. But I do think this could be a narrative-based award. And by that, I'm talking about you compare the narrative, you take that and you put it together with the peak performance of this player. And I think it's leading me to Sauce Gardner. He's 20 to 1. 20 to 1. He's already considered the best corner in the league. The Jets are in New York, a ton of hype. So again, I go back to visibility. He's going to have all kinds of visibility for a defense that's talking a ton of crap. The thing is he going to see the volume he needs to have the stats in order to win this award, right? So if he picks off 5 balls and his completion percentage against is ridiculous, we start calling him Sauce Island and all this stuff, then I think the comps could be there to the guy who previously won this award, which was Stephon Gilmore. So that's sort of his comp. 2019, Gilmore had 6 picks, 2 touchdowns, and 20 passes defended. So again, it comes back to Sauce seeing the volume. But last year, he led the league. 48.1% of his passes were completed in terms of how often he was targeted. And he had a minus 8.4 completion percentage over expectation. So those are great stats. He only had 2 interceptions. He's going to have more this year. If he sees the volume, he's a great player. I think he can capitalize on that and cash this at 20 to 1. But the Jets also have to be pretty good. Garrett was my second.
I like it. I thought you were going to say Micah Parsons talking about the narrative. But no, I didn't consider Sauce. I like it. I'm with you. I worry that if they just don't target him, he could be the best defensive player in the league, and he's not going to get votes just because he didn't get enough targets. But for 20 to 1, I like that one a lot. All right. MVP. Who do you got?
So this ties into my Super Bowl winner. Well, let me say first, I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of this on Tua. Okay. I'm going to sprinkle a little bit on Tua, and here's why. He led the league in yards per attempt last year. He led the league in ADOT, 3rd in rating. If he just stays healthy, he's 22 to 1. So I don't mind that, but it's Jalen Hurts. I think he's got another level to go up. He's plus 1,200. So this is kind of a value play for me too, because Burrow, Allen, Mahomes, all ahead of him. We should probably just take Mahomes every year at 6 to 1. We probably should. And every 6 years we'll be right and we'll break even. But I just think Hurts' stats, I think he could go 4,000 yards passing, 1,000 yards rushing. The Eagles are going to win the division. They're going to win 11 or 12 games again. They're probably going to be the 1 seed in a bad conference. So again, visibility, narrative, that's what I'm leaning on here. And I like the value.
Yeah, I don't hate that. I mean, he would have won last year if he didn't get hurt, and then ended up being Mahomes. I will say, Mahomes was the first quarterback. I can't remember in exactly how long to win MVP and then also win the Super Bowl. I remember that was a thing where it's like, well, thank God Hurts didn't win that because now
what did we just talk about? We just talked about trends.
I know. No, I know.
Don't worry about trends.
I know. I'm not. Yeah, that's not a point I'm actually making. So I was debating between 2. I have. And I'm just going to go with the sleeper one who we talked about on your show. So you're probably not surprised to hear this. Give me Trevor Lawrence. If not for the injuries to Jalen Hurts last year and Carson Wentz back in 2017, 3 out of the last 5 MVPs would have been like this archetype of player. Young quarterback takes a leap in his 2nd or 3rd year. Mahomes won MVP his 2nd year in the NFL's 1st year starting. Both Wentz and Hurts would have won MVP if they didn't get hurt. Both of that was their 2nd year starting. They added elite talent, who I believe at least elite talent at wide receiver in Calvin Ridley. They have a pretty easy division. Maybe the Titans are good. I'm not necessarily, I mean, they could be good. I'm not going to say they're not. They could be good. They also just could not be good. And then other than that, you have the Texans and the Colts, who I don't think are going to be good. So they could end up winning 11, 12 games. And if they do, he's going to get a lot of love for it. So Trevor Lawrence was my pick, but my runner-up, I was close to going with Justin Herbert, but I feel like he's getting a little too much love and it was a little too much of a favorite. So I went with a less chalky answer and I went with Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, both have great hair.
Yeah,
that's
analysis. True. I mean, they do have great hair. I mean, I would say Jalen Hurts is a striking man. So if we're just going off of that, I think got a great opportunity to win MVP.
We squat a very similar number. So I'm very pro Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure. All right. Give me your Super Bowl matchup and winner.
That sounded a little dismissive. I just want to put that out there. My Super Bowl matchup is the Philadelphia Eagles against the Cincinnati Bengals. We talked about this yesterday. I think this is sort of the Bengals' time. The downgrade at wide receiver for Kansas City is so severe. They will score points. Yes, I get it. But I think Cincinnati, Lou Amaretto is a great defensive coordinator. They beat them 2 years ago. Last year, that game was decided on a late field goal. Could have gone either way. I think they get over the hump this year. Cincinnati's going to go back to the Super Bowl. The Eagles go back to the Super Bowl by virtue of playing in a terrible conference. They have a defensive coordinator this year in Sean Desai. Jonathan Gannon had so much talent. And every time they played against a top 10 quarterback, they were just gashed. Now, do we know if Sean Desai is going to do nothing similar to Gannon? Honestly, we don't. But I imagine there will be some sort of game plan in place to not allow the opposing team to score 38 points in that scenario. So the Eagles offense is going to score points this year. You can call it a homer pick, call it whatever you want. I think the Birds upend the Bengals.
Okay, so you have the Birds winning. I have the same exact Super Bowl, but I actually have the Bengals winning. I'm sorry to say it. I do think that the Bengals win. I'm with you. So I was like, okay, I'm an Eagles fan, and they just went to the Super Bowl last year. But you cannot talk me into any of the other teams in the NFC. Like the Cowboys, no way. The 49ers, we talked about a lot yesterday. And then after that, it's like, if Geno Smith takes a leap, sure. If Justin Fields takes a leap that neither of us are expecting, sure. But it's just not going to happen. So I'm with you. And the Bengals, I mean, I agree 100%. They upgraded their offensive line. The only thing that makes me nervous is they lost 3/4 of their starting secondary, but I have faith.
Safety is a concern.
Yeah, but I have faith in the defensive coordinator, just like you said. They have guys that they drafted either this year or last year who they are projecting to take a step up this year. And Joe Burrow's a stone cold killer. I think they would have beaten the Chiefs if he didn't lose 3/5 of his offensive line weeks before. Like Chris Jones wrecked that game. Probably wouldn't have happened if they had healthy players among their offensive line. So I'm with you. I mean, I put $25 on that exact outcome. Bengals versus Eagles in the Super Bowl. I didn't even pick the winner. I just said that was the matchup.
What was the price? What did you get?
I should have written that down. I didn't. It was like $25 to win 650, something like that.
Okay. Whatever that math is. Sure.
Yeah. Whatever that math is. Someone smarter than me can figure it out. Real quick, Brandon Selman, Matt, did you get the DraftKings Mahomes one completion boost? I didn't. DraftKings hates me. They limit my dongs to like $5 a wager. So I did not get this on DraftKings. But for those of you that did, congrats on the free money.
Just a suggestion for you and OnlyFans: dongs for the people.
Dongs for the people. Charge $5 a month.
That's it.
Well, I guess that's fair. I got to make a living.
You did say you had small hands, so I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't say small feet.
That's
all right. Moving on.
Yeah, sure.
Teams you are fading. We can do this.
Did you want to do quickly. Offensive player of the year? So
I didn't have that down just because I don't. Okay. Is it basically just best player that's not a quarterback? I don't know. I don't really understand.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Then give me your shot.
So I have Tyreek here. He's plus 2,050. This is sort of to play off my Tua hunch. Tyreek should have gotten 2,000 yards last year. If Tua doesn't get hurt, he had 1,700 yards. Tua missed 4 games. In those games, Hill had 7 catches for 47 yards, 4 catches for 55 yards, 2 catches for 23 yards. So he averaged over he averaged about 110 yards per game with Tua. So if that sees like a slight uptick, I think he gets it there. And if he gets to 2,000, I think the award is his.
If you're getting 2,000 receiving yards, you're probably right.
So teams I'm fading here.
Yeah.
So we're at odds end on the Jags.
Okay.
I thought their end of the season schedule last year was a little not great. I think they were the beneficiaries of a historical collapse by the Chargers and a terrible like Brandon Staley is still employed. I don't really know how. I think they were beneficiaries of that. Now they play a first place schedule after playing a 4th place schedule last year. I think that's going to affect them. I'm not in on the Jets, down on the Jets for many reasons that we've covered before. Again, who is blocking for Aaron Rodgers? It's great that Aaron Rodgers is enjoying his time in a city with tall buildings. Who is blocking for this man? I have no idea. Breece Hall has a torn ACL. I'm very anti guy returning from ACL until he's at least 2 years out. People always say Adrian Peterson, and that was like 12 years ago. So like, let's find another sample. out on them. And then the 49ers. I don't
Yeah.
believe in Brock Purdy. I don't believe in him. Again, we covered this bit yesterday. Very soft back end of the schedule when they went on that winning streak last year. He played one top 10 passing defense. And I think 7 of them were in the bottom half of the league. So not a big believer in it. Kyle Shanahan, great coach. He can scheme them up. They already have injuries to George Kittle. They're definitely going to have injuries to Brandon Ayuk. And I assume Deebo Samuel's already pissed down his leg about something and complained about it. So I'm out on them as well.
I'm with you on the 49ers. I didn't add them to my list because I figured you'd have them. We covered this yesterday, but I'm fading the Bills for reasons that we went over yesterday. Not a Josh Allen guy. Could have an extremely difficult schedule depending on what happens with the Dolphins and the Jets. Patriots are not going to be good, but they're not going to be horrible either. I'm out on the Bills. And then the other 2 teams, not necessarily linking them on purpose, but the Broncos and the Saints, mostly for quarterback reasons. Sean Payton, he comes in, he roasts the old head coach whose name I can't remember, the guy who went to the Packers.
Yeah, it was Nathaniel Hackett.
Yeah, Nathaniel Hackett. He roasts him. That's all good and fun. I think Russell Wilson might just be cooked. And Sean Payton's already kind of been hedging his bets a little bit, sprinkling some comments here and there about Russell Wilson, excuse me, about how like it's not Russell Wilson Incorporated. Stop acting like you're like running for political office. Right. Start being a quarterback. He's already, and like reports came out that, granted, this was at the beginning of camp, but that Jarrett Stidham was better in training or in the mini camp. That's never great. And then the Saints, they have a super easy schedule, which I understand, but a lot of like advanced stats, like PFF quarterback rating, or just PFF, excuse me, had Andy Dalton as a better quarterback than Derek Carr. Now, if your argument is him getting out of the stink of the Raiders, he's going to be better, I'm willing to accept that. But I think that the Saints, I mean, they haven't done anything since Drew Brees retired. They're kind of like the Patriots. Like, were they really that good of an organization, or do they just have a Hall of Fame quarterback? So I'm out on the Saints. I know it's a super easy division, but I have a different team winning it, and I think they're just not that good.
I'm willing to have in a different episode a long discussion about PFF.
Okay,
and our over reliance on PFF.
That's fair. I think that's fair.
I've long had an issue with them back to when I used to cover the Packers, about them not knowing assignments. They can't possibly know the assignment for every player or the read progression of every pass attempt and then hand out a grade for that particular player.
Yeah,
I think there are certain things that you can glean from that. I think people are way too over reliant on it. We can save that longer discussion for another day.
Totally fair. Totally fair. I look the ones I look at, PFF and DVOA are like the 2 that I look at the closest.
I feel like DVOA gives you a better picture.
Yeah, that's fair. That's totally fair. All right. Rapid fire division winners. Just go one by one. If I have a comment on one of them, I will do it at the end.
Eagles, Saints, Seahawks, Packers, 49ers, Giants, Cowboys are your wild cards. Way down on the Bears this year, way down on the Vikings this year. Chiefs, Browns, Bills, Titans, Dolphins, Jags, Bengals, your wild card teams in the AFC.
So the Bengals come out of the AFC as a wild card team.
I do believe. I think the Browns have one of the best rosters.
I agree.
In the NFL, and despite what you think about, Deshaun Watson, he didn't forget how to be a top 5 quarterback. He just didn't play for 2 years. So I feel like with a full offseason, he's going to come back and they're going to be pretty good. Yeah.
So all right, NFC East. Don't hate me, but I'm going the Cowboys. I just think that they're a good team.
Sorry.
I worry about the coordinators, but anyways, NFC South, give me the Panthers. Let's get weird. Why not? NFC West, Seahawks.
I think they're going to be the worst team in the NFL, but go ahead.
Also possible. Well, the Cardinals, I mean, you mean outside of the Cardinals.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
You have that fire in your gut, Matt?
Yeah.
Did you have that?
NFC West, Seahawks, NFC North, Packers. I didn't do wild card. I probably should have, but I didn't. AFC East, Jets. AFC South, Jaguars. AFC West, Chiefs. Obvious. AFC North. Give me the Ravens. I've always loved the Ravens. I think they're going to be good this year. So yeah, those are my division winners.
Like them.
Cool.
Ravens are tough. The Ravens are tough only because they just are injured all the time.
Yeah.
Like nobody plays 17 or 16 games, including their quarterback. It's hard to trust.
They're like the 49ers in that you can just count, okay, they're going to have 3 to 5 devastating injuries over the course of the season. For the Niners, it's always their quarterback. I will say Lamar Jackson, he started every game up until the past 2 years, and then he's missed the end of the season the past 2 years. So I wonder that, I don't know. He's a running quarterback. That's a thing. But, at one point when he was young, Matt Stafford couldn't stay healthy. And then he was an Iron Man for like 10 years. And now he's not. But so who knows? You never know.
Lamar is really skinny, man.
And he's a running quarterback.
Yeah. Running quarterback. He just doesn't really have that frame. I covered him at Louisville. Like him. Thin guy. He
doesn't squat like Jalen Hurts or you.
Or me.
Yes, of course. Yeah, of course. Yeah. All right. Real quick before we get into week one, Joe TP, butchering that guy's last name. Sorry, Joe. 34-24, Kansas City. That would mean the under.
The over hits.
The over, excuse me. Math is hard. The over. And that would also mean Kansas City covers. So he chose. Yeah, that's what I had. So great pick.
Joe, I hate your pick.
All right. What week one wagers
you
want to get off your chest?
Yeah, so I'll just shout these out quick. Packers money line against the Bears. I don't understand the whole Bears thing. I don't understand the Justin Fields thing. Guy's an unbelievable athlete, but like he can't throw the football. So big problem there. So give me the Packers money line there, which at last check I think was even money. Falcons -3.5 against the Panthers. This game is in Atlanta. I think the Panthers might be the worst team outside of Arizona. And this team also sucks. The Rams, 30 undrafted free agents. They have one guy on defense that you've ever heard of, unless you know who John Johnson is, then it's two. And he's been de-escalating his career's worth for the last several years. So I like Seattle -5.5 here. Again, this is in Seattle. I don't think Geno Smith is a fluke. The defense is slowly getting better. That secondary is slowly getting a lot better. And offensively, they've added Zach Charbonnet. The only thing that's kind of missing is an offensive line from them. But other than Aaron Donald, who you can triple team, there's nobody else that really scares you. So give me the Seahawks.
I'm with you on two of those three, but I love the Seahawks as well. And the offensive line might be good. For the whole Russell Wilson, his career, basically post-Super Bowl, their offensive line was terrible, but they got two rookie tackles who played well last year. Maybe they're better this year if they take a step forward. For me, I'm going to go with three underdogs who I'd like to win outright. Steelers. Underdogs, yeah, if you will. Steelers over the 49ers for obvious reasons. Give me the Raiders over the Broncos because I cannot get there with Russell Wilson. And the Titans over the Saints. Titans, I think, as high as I am on the Jags, I do also like the value of the Titans to win the division, like what you predicted. All they've done under Mike Vrabel is win, except for last year when Tannehill got hurt, and they were 7-3 when Tannehill got hurt. Like they're never going to be the most talented, but they just win games. Never going to trust them in the playoffs, but that's not what we're betting here.
Top three coach Vrabel.
Yeah,
honestly,
I agree.
I think it's Belichick, maybe Reed, Vrabel. Honestly, like I just think he's that good. And they were the most hurt team in the league last year. I mean, they started Malik Willis in a primetime spot against the Chiefs and lost by like 4.
They took them to overtime.
Yeah. Just like, Vrabel's unbelievable. That defense is going to be fine. Traylon Burks apparently has looked really good. They add DeAndre Hopkins. You understand it, Joe. Tajay Sharp's awesome. You ever watched him at Tulane? If anything happens to Derrick Henry, Tajay Sharp is really good. I just feel really confident about them. And they're like plus 330 to win the division.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Yeah, and I like the tight end, Okonkwo. Chiggy Okonkwo, yeah. Yeah, the concern with the Titans is their offensive line, which like any self-respecting ratings has them super low, but they just
like Andre Dillard? Is that an Andre Dillard guy?
Well, yeah, I mean, Taylor Lewan was always hurt, so Andre Dillard could be a fine left tackle. I don't know. We'll see with him, but cool. Yeah, all right. Anything that you want to get off your chest before we get out of here?
No, just hit up Sport Trade, use promo code MODI, take advantage of our sign-up bonus in time for week one. But otherwise, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, appreciate you joining. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Every Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern, you can catch me and Dan live on this YouTube channel. Have a good one.